What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Tyrant 10. I am Mike, I'll be your host today, and this is where we bring you in 10 minutes or less some industry news or some good information on some parts you may want. Well, let's go ahead and knock out some of the industry news to get started. The creepy, sleepy guy who doesn't know where he is and is confused wants to take away your guns, along with the other half of the government, which wants to take away your guns. At least at this point, they're not even trying to hide it anymore, so there is at least that. When it comes to the manufacturing side of things, nobody can make anything fast enough, so we're all angry right now because we're waiting on eternal back order. And then of course, some companies use a boat getting stuck sideways in a canal as the excuse for always being late on shipping. I think you all know who we're talking about. And then of course, something that's near and dear to everybody's heart right now, ammunition. I don't know what to tell you. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. We're gonna see ammunition shortages for a very long time, so strap in and just enjoy the ride. Well, now that that is all out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this. Yeah, a plain Jane Glock 19 Gen 3. But what we're gonna talk about is trigger checks and trigger safeties that you need to pay attention to should you be choosing to change your trigger bar, a full trigger kit, or just the trigger shoe. So since Tyrant has come out with a trigger, both Gen 3, Gen 4, and I think the Gen 5 is coming out soon, if you're gonna install this, which it always says, have a licensed armor or a licensed gunsmith install your parts, because that is you assuming liability and then passing the liability off to that person. Every manufacturer's site says that. I'm going to tell you that as well. If you're not a licensed armor or gunsmith, you should probably have somebody who knows what they're doing install your parts for you. But regardless of that, you need to understand these safeties that are on the Glock system and how to check at least those out to ensure that you are functioning appropriately. So we're going to take a look at this up close. So I'm going to go over just basically the striker block safety, the drop ledge safety, and of course the trigger shoe safety, because those all work in conjunction. If you are bypassing any of those with an aftermarket part, you probably need to return that thing back to the way it once was, because bypassing safeties is really a bad idea. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go over the triple redundant safeties on the Glock safety system right here. So a couple things we gotta get out of the way. This is not armor school. This is not gunsmith school. This is just information for you to check to make sure that things are in spec and working as they should on your Glock setup. So we'll go ahead and unload, make sure that this thing is clear, and we are going to talk about the safety systems in here. We're going to talk about the slide first. This is your striker block safety. So what this does is it blocks your striker, which is the lug is right here. You can see the striker moves like that. It's on spring tension. As that goes forward, that strikes the round, makes the thing go bang. Unless this is depressed, and as long as it's within specifications, that striker cannot pass by that. So you can see, even though I'm pressing pretty hard, the striker can't move forward until I depress that, and then the striker goes all the way forward. You can actually see it moving slightly right there. If you look in that hole right there, that's called the weep hole. You can see that striker moving back and forward. Now that striker lug interfaces with this part of the trigger bar. That is called your sear surface. So as that slide is on there, the striker lug catches on this part, and as long as it's within spec, it keeps the striker to the rear. Moving forward of that, what you're going to see is this edge right there that cruciform, which is this part, is sitting on, both right here and then inside here on the trigger block. That is your drop safe ledge. So as long as, and there's a couple different ways to test this. One, you want to make sure the trigger shoe is all the way against the frame, and you push down on that with a decent amount, you know, pound, 2 pounds of pressure, and make sure that it does not fall off that ledge. That keeps this thing from going off when dropped. Moving forward from there, you'll see this vertical extension on the trigger bar right here. That interfaces with that striker safety. As you pull the trigger and move it to the rear like that, it disengages that safety right at the same time, or almost at the same time, that your cruciform right there drops down. That allows the striker to go forward, the gun goes bang, the slide reciprocates, and everything redoes itself. Up here, of course, on the trigger shoe, we all know Glock has a trigger shoe safety, which ensures the trigger doesn't go to the rear unless you actively have your finger on the trigger and press that thing down just like that. So those are the triple redundant safeties in here. All of them need to work, and they work in unison, just like an engine, the pistons, the gears, everything's got to work in unison to work appropriately. If the trigger is too aggressively pulled back and there's too much geometry removed out of that trigger shoe, this edge here can be pulled back far enough where it can disengage the striker block safety. So when you basically have this together, a way that you're going to check on that is you're actually going to look up in the trigger well, and you're going to kind of push back and forth like this, and you're going to see where that vertical extension of the trigger bar starts to interface with that striker safety, that little barrel, and make sure that it's not disengaging that prior to when it should. Other than that, keep your stuff clean and inspect it once in a while, and you should be good to go. Well, now that you have a better idea of the safety systems and the safety checks that you can do in your home while conducting regular maintenance, there are different safety tests that one can do out on the range or drop testing, which don't ever use live ammo for drop testing. I shouldn't have to say that, but trust me, it's been done before. So those are just things during your basic maintenance that you need to ensure are all working appropriately, especially if you have changed any internal parts. Well, that is the video, and that is what I have for you today on the Tyrant 10, where you come to get industry news or information on parts or Gen 3 Glock 19s you might be interested in 10 minutes or less. You guys get out there and have some fun, and I will see you on the next Tyrant 10.